You may have heard of the water cycle, but have you ever heard of the nitrogen cycle? Nitrogen is a nutrient necessary for both plants and animals. On Earth, nitrogen takes up 78% of the atmosphere. To put that in perspective, oxygen takes up about 20%, and the remaining 2% is made of a bunch of other gases, like carbon dioxide and water vapor. There's a catch, though. In order for most plants and animals to use this nitrogen, it has to be fixed. The nitrogen in the atmosphere is unfixed, and there's only a few ways nitrogen can be fixed. The first is lightning. Another way is through bacteria living in root nodules in certain plants. These plants are called legumes, and they include beans, clovers, peas, and peanuts. These nitrogen bacteria live on their own sometimes as well, and then they are called free-living bacteria. Nitrogen is used by bacteria, plants, and animals, including humans. When those bacteria, plants, or animals die, they are decomposed. Bacteria are decomposers, but the most famous ones are mushrooms. They break down the dead organisms and put the nutrients back into the soil. Nitrogen in the soil can enter lakes and ponds in a variety of ways, but a common one is called leaching. Once in a lake, the nutrients are used by plants such as phytoplankton, which is algae, or benthic plants like water lilies. Phytoplankton is then eaten by zooplankton, which are microscopic animals. The zooplankton are eaten by small fish, and the small fish are eaten by larger fish, though larger fish will sometimes eat zooplankton as well. Finally, humans eat fish, and what's in the water ends up inside of us. Humans have found a way to fix nitrogen themselves. This fixed nitrogen is sold as fertilizer. This can sometimes be too much of a good thing, though. Imagine if a farmer were to put fertilizer on his field, and then it rained, and all of the fertilizer washed right into a river, and that river carried it to a lake. That lake would turn gross and green, because there's too much phytoplankton using the nutrients. This is called eutrophication. This is a big problem in the Mississippi watershed. The Mississippi watershed, or system of rivers, is a huge watershed that covers almost half of the United States. Most of the land around the Mississippi watershed is used for farming. That means that fertilizer is constantly getting washed into the river, and the river carries it straight into the ocean. In the ocean, the nutrients are used by phytoplankton. So much phytoplankton grows that the zooplankton can't eat it fast enough. Instead, most of the phytoplankton dies before it is eaten, and then the dead phytoplankton is decomposed. But when a decomposer decomposes, it uses oxygen and breathes out carbon dioxide, just like us. Because all of the oxygen is being used, the water ends up with little to no oxygen. This is called hypoxia. Fish, like us, breathe oxygen. Without oxygen, they suffocate and die, resulting in what we call a fish kill event. This is why it is important to regulate our use of nitrogen.